Mascots play a big role in getting people to remember certain teams, but they also are really effective in helping to sell certain items and products. Throughout the years, there have been many mascots that have come and gone. Some of those may have been annoying, while others conjure up sweet memories. In this video, we will have a look back at some mascots that we do not see anymore. Cool Spot was a mascot for 7-Up in the United States. He was an animated version of the red dot in the 7-Up logo and first appeared in 1987. Cool Spot never talked, but he did communicate through some high-pitched noises. Not only was he in television commercials, but he also had some video games that he appeared in during the 1990s. Cool Spot faded away in 1997 after a good 10-year run. In 1997, Taco Bell wanted to remind people that there were other fast food menu options besides just burgers. In September of that year, they came out with the Taco Bell Chihuahua commercials where the cute little dog used the catchphrase, "Yo quiero Taco Bell." Later on, additional catchphrases were used like, "Yeah, drop the chalupa." This little dog became a part of pop culture, and Taco Bell sold talking toy figures in 1998 and 1999. The ad campaign ended in 2000, and many people thought it was because the dog died, but that just wasn't true. The Taco Bell Chihuahua that was played by Gidget was a real-life dog and did not actually pass away until 2009. Taco Bell ended the advertising campaign due to pressure from different Hispanic advocacy groups. The Noid is an advertising character for Domino's Pizza, and he was created in 1986. He was a weird little character dressed in a red skin-tight, rabbit-eared bodysuit. The ad campaign used the slogan, "Avoid the Noid," and it was really about the challenges of delivering pizza within 30 minutes. The Noid has made appearances in several video games, and he periodically gets revived for television and social media posts. But he's not all over the place like he was in the late 80s or early 90s. The California Raisins was a group of singing raisins who appeared in 1986 Sun-Made commercials on behalf of the California Raisin Advisory Board. The commercials were in the form of claymation, and the Raisins became famous for singing "I Heard It Through the Grapevine." This was a popular song in the late 1960s by Marvin Gaye, but the Raisins version landed them at number 84 in the Billboard Hot 100 in the 1980s. The Raisins went on to advertise for Post-Raisin brand cereal, and they even had their own television specials that aired on CBS. The Raisins had all sorts of successful merchandise that was released, including shirts, bed sheets, lunchboxes, toys, notebooks, pencils, and just about anything you could think of. The Raisins were discontinued in 2002 when the California Raisin Advisory Board collapsed. How about a nice Hawaiian Punch? That was the tagline used by Punchy, who was the mascot for Hawaiian Punch fruit punch drinks. Punchy made his television debut in 1962 wearing a blue and white striped shirt and a red straw hat. After Punchy asked the character Opie, "How about a nice Hawaiian Punch?" Opie would reply, "Sure," and then Punchy would punch him. Punchy always ended the ad with, "Wasn't that a refreshing commercial?" Both Opie and Punchy appeared in commercials up until the 1990s. In 2003, Punchy got a makeover and suddenly he had tan skin and cut-off jeans. He still appears on Hawaiian Punch product labels, but kids today might not be as familiar with him as they used to be. Twinkie the Kid was the official mascot for Hostess Twinkies, and he made his official debut in 1971. He was designed to appeal to little kids, and he was quite successful in doing so. This little cowboy Twinkie appeared on product packaging, printed ads, television commercials, and even collectible merchandise. In 2013, they revamped him, but he eventually rode off into the sunset in 2017. The company made the decision to try and appeal to everyone and not just little kids. The Frito Bandido was the mascot for Fritos corn chips starting in 1967. If you were around in the late 1960s and watching television, then you certainly saw him. He was created by Tex Avery, who was the famous artist who also created Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Porky Pig. Mel Blanc lended his voice to the character, who spoke in broken English and robbed people of their Fritos. In 1971, the Frito-Lay companies discontinued Frito Bandido due to increased pressure from various Hispanic advocacy groups. In the 1950s, the Tropic Ana company began using the mascot Tropic Ana. She was a young, smiling Polynesian girl wearing only a lei and a grass skirt while balancing a bowl of oranges on her head. Ana was appearing on everything from juice cartons, pins, train cars, and all sorts of advertising items. She became a huge part of the brand for several decades, but eventually she was phased out sometime in the 1990s. Today, Tropic Ana uses an orange with a straw pierced in it. Post Rice Crinkles has had several mascots for their cereal that really haven't been all that great. The first one was Crinkles the Clown in 1956. He would burst out of a doghouse structure and then crash through the wall before stomping up to the breakfast table to devour a whole bowl of sugar rice crinkles. This terrifying clown was short-lived, but when Bozo the Clown became popular in the 1960s, Post Cereal tried a less creepy clown version in 1968. However, the results were pretty much the same, and he disappeared forever. Rice Crinkles were also represented by a small Asian boy named So High, which referred to his short nature. The television commercials were pretty cringy, with a lot of usage of "ah-so's." The toys that were offered in the cereal boxes were not any better, like the Rickshaw Racer, for instance. The So High mascot was discontinued in 1968. Popsicle Pete was a mascot that was introduced in 1939 on a radio show. He eventually became the brand mascot for Popsicle in the 1940s when the cartoonist Woody Gelman created him. Woody was a well-known artist that also created Bazooka Joe in the 1950s for Bazooka Bubblegum. Popsicle Pete appeared in newspaper ads, popsicle wrappers, and promotional giveaways. He was used for many decades, but if you ask kids today who Popsicle Pete is, then they probably couldn't even tell you. Fred was the mascot that Frito-Lay used for their Munchos line of chips. He was created and voiced by Jim Henson in the 1960s. The 1969 commercial has the debut of a Muppet that went on to become the Cookie Monster. He was sometimes known as Arnold, and he would go crazy over Munchos. Arnold, or the Cookie Monster, was sometimes voiced by Jim Henson and other times by Frank Oz. Today, it is difficult for most people to think of Cheetos and not think about Chester Cheetah. But before he came along, Cheetos had another one, and he was known as the Cheetos Mouse. This 70s mascot took on cool characters like Cheesy Rider and Julius Cheezer. He was around a while, but he disappeared forever once Chester Cheetah was introduced in the 1980s. Over the years, Coca-Cola has had a lot of successful ad campaigns, but did you know that they had a Sprite Boy? He actually predated the Sprite drink by a couple decades. This elf was used to advertise Coca-Cola in the 1940s, and by the time the lemon lime drink came around, the Sprite Boy had already been retired. But the question is, will he ever come back? In the 1960s, High C featured a giraffe named High Cecil on its aluminum cans. It's kind of interesting how he looks a little like Jeffrey the Giraffe from Toys R Us. If you were a kid in the 1970s or 80s, then you're most likely familiar with the wizard that appeared on the boxes of Alphabet cereal. He eventually disappeared from boxes, and now the cereal itself was discontinued in 2021. Remember getting Fruit Stripe gum and seeing the zebra on it? He was known as Yipes the Zebra, and he was one of the longer-lasting characters of the Stripe family animals. Too bad the gum didn't last as long as he did. The flavor was fine for 30 seconds to a minute, and then it disappeared. The gum itself was discontinued in 2024. In recent years, there's been a big push to remove some iconic mascots from products that were criticized as being racially insensitive. But not all of these mascots that have disappeared have been controversial. Some are just part of the rebranding that companies do from time to time. But for many of us, these mascots live on in our memories, and we associate them with a different time in our lives. What are some of the mascots you remember seeing that are no longer around? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.